Good day and welcome to the highlights of this week's evening review, our show at Namibian Sun. My name is Taiwan Jabela. I'll take you through. So the first item is the interview that we had on Monday this week with the Chief of Police, Sebastian Ndeitunga, speaking about a lot of things, but what stood out for us is when he said there could be more arrests in this Fish Road case. This is what he had to say. Do you foresee a chain of, in your investigations, your preliminary investigations, do you foresee more arrests coming, or do you think maybe this will be about it?
No, I cannot let the bird fly away.
Yeah.
Our investigations will continue, particularly the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Yeah.
You know, investigations are very complicated. For you to arrest someone and deprive that particular person of freedom of movement,
Yeah.
you have to put your facts together.
Yes.
And make sure that when you lay your hands on that particular individual,
Yeah.
you are sure that there are enough evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So this type of investigation are very complicated.
Yes.
And you have to go slow. You should not be emotional in your investigation.
Yes.
You have to be very professional.
Uh-huh.
Let the investigations continue. If the chain is long,
Yes.
we will never leave the stone on top of the other.
Yeah. Also in the studio this week was the leader of the official opposition, Mark Henry Venani of the Popular Democratic Movement, speaking to our colleague Jemima Bieges. This is a part of their conversation.
That we got the spoil of all opposition. We could have shared that spoil across parties. We are the second largest party that is closer to us, is 4 times smaller than us. So if it was a Dr. Itula factor, it could have contributed. There is relevance to say that there are people that were disillusioned in SWAPO and they tend to vote for the largest opposition, and that is just a reality. But Dr. Itula got 30% of the vote, 29% of the vote, and we only got 16. So it tells you that there were also people that were nostalgic, that remained within the fold of the ruling party and didn't vote for us. So and we didn't have a deal, unfortunately, with Dr. Itula prior to the election. So we cannot claim that we were recipients of their votes directly, but we were a recipient of a mood swing that was in the country. And we were reading it very clinically and very well, that our strategy was based on the mood of the country. And we knew that we were filling stadiums in areas where we couldn't fill them in the last 10 years. We could fill up Oshakati, to my surprise, we could fill up Luderets. So the mood was changing, and we have playing a role in changing that mood over a number of efforts that we have put on the ground. And our strategy was second to none. Our political visibility was second to none. Our consistent fight in the National Assembly was second to none. So those things really played in our favor. And going forward, we are going to build on that foundation. One of the things that are lacking in the current National Assembly is the fact that Parliament is not really accountable. The legislature is over-dominated by the executive. We hope now that the President has agreed with us that he needs to make his cabinet smaller, that the legislature would have a much more greater role to play. For example, a motion that is adopted in the National Assembly does not necessarily have direct applicability to government. It ought to have, but SWAPO would say they would accept a motion in the National Assembly, but they would not act on it. So the legislature is left weak. We do not have, one of the issues that we are fighting strongly about is to have a budget committee, because you cannot deal with the implementation of the budget without a committee, because you only deal with policy issues fighting the budget on the floor of the House. But what you need a robust budget committee that looks at every cent, that the cent that we are spending in education, does it give value for money? The cent that we are spending on health, the cent that we spend on sanitation, and reallocating these things. So we are hoping now, with the numbers that we have and working with other opposition forces in the country, to make sure that we create a robust synergy, to make sure that legislators' job is to change the lives of the people. And PDM is going to come to the fore, bringing in motions, and not only motions now because of resources that we are going to get quadrupled, is the fact that we are going to really focus on fighting the ruling party on legislation level, because there are a number of legislations that never comes to the floor of the House. One of the issue is the issue of the information bill. Information bill was promulgated in 2007, but it has not seen the light of the day. So we are going to push for a private members bill. If the ruling party is slacking behind in bringing bills to the House. We are going to jump the gun and bring bills for tabling for them to be debated. Of course, you need a strong lobbying ground. We are creating an internal research unit already in the PDM. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to visit IPPR just to look at what they are doing and the good work that they are doing. So we are investing heavily on a robust, modern parliamentary season that we want to see things changing, because the whole world, the citizenry of the world, and here in Namibia, have lost confidence in politicians. And they are right by losing confidence in us. Look at the numbers of people, the number of people that went to the polls. Out of the problems that this country was facing, we had a very highly contested election, but only less than 65% of people went to the votes. What happened to the 37%? People have no interest in politics. And why don't they have interest in politics? Because politicians are spending a lot of time debating about their allergies, debating about their own problems, as opposed to problems that are going to be game changers, changing the lives of the people. Now, the issues of sanitation, issues of information dissemination bill, issues of gender parity, issues of income, basic income grant, reforming our health sector, the education sector, we should hone in on these issues. And I wish that parliamentarians that are coming to the National Assembly, both from both sides of the divide, will make their time and energy focusing on those issues that changes the lives of our people. Because if you look at what Parliament debates most of the time, and look at the breaks that we have, I've been consistently fighting the parliamentary system, that we need to reform and overhaul our parliamentary system. You can't have a parliamentary system where you have 6 months, people are on leave, and we are blaming that no, Parliament has committee system. The committee system in Parliament is falling apart. The reason why it is falling apart is that the ruling party is consistently putting people to chair committees that are not capable of chairing them and be able to change the direction. And now with the numbers that we have and the control that we have in the backbenching role of politics, we are going to make sure that we are going to hold government to account. We're going to proactively and reactively focus on all those issues that we think it is important. Because when you are the official opposition, you need to be reactive, because government dictates the agenda of the day. And you are a reactive force to make sure that whatever they are doing is in the broader interest of society. And we are going to do more to hold government to account. For example, we have never addressed the question of the effectiveness of the Auditor General. Reports are being tabled there. So every institution of government, and especially your institutions that are supposed to really focus on bringing matters to the forth. Look at the ACC. You had a director, Noah, who goes on a WhatsApp or SWAPO group and says that this fish rot scam, there is no evidence. Primarily, that's where it started. But Parliament has not questioned him that. Why are you as a director on a WhatsApp group of a political party and saying these things? And those are the issues that Parliament need to do. We need to call in the Prosecutor General to commit to committees, and she must account. Why are you taking long to freeze the assets of the Samerji company? People need to be accounted, to be accountable. And we are going to lead a force that is going to make government to account. And we are going to do so with all other actors. We would wish to work with all the 34 opposition forces in order to make sure that we keep government to account, and we also bring motions and private members' bills that addresses issues that affects our society.
Speaking about accountability, can you please clarify the issue around the party's party list to the National Assembly, and have you had time have you given feedback to the disgruntled members? Well,
we are about to give feedback. You see, primarily we are on record, and we have been bona fide on this matter. We think and we know that the law that was promulgated by Parliament is unconstitutional, and we are going to prove that. We just came from the Electoral Tribunal that referred us to the High Court, and we are about to go to the High Court to prove that, because the law says if you want to stand as a candidate, you should not earn 2 salaries. But we are saying you cannot earn a salary. Even people that are elected on the list are not earning a salary until they are sworn in. Now, the Constitution of our Republic under Schedule 4, subsection 4 is very clear that it remains within the ambit of political parties to choose their representative. We have been bona fide from the beginning. Before we knew how many seats we were going to get, we were fighting ECN, and we are the only party that was consistently fighting ECN, saying that the way that you're implementing this law is contrary to the constitutional provision of the country. Again, the democratic process of the party must be respected. It is the duties and the purpose and the reason of the existence of parties to choose their representative. The party central committee and the electoral college chose certain representative. They were denied their right because the law was misquoted and people were using the law to the letter in a very wrong way. And we are saying those members, the 4 members, we are saying to them, and we have been consistently saying that they did not arrive at those numbers through merit. They arrived there because their jobs were not affected. And we are saying, for us to balance the party, it is very cardinal to my leadership that we cannot have an over-representation of one ethnic group over the other in large numbers. We cannot have an over-representation. People are saying we voted for a youth list. And this is the very reason why we want to amend it, is because we knew that more people wanted more young people to come to the fore. And this list, if we implement it in the current way, we are denying the question of ethnic balancing and tribal balancing internally in the party, and we are bringing more older people because we put older people lower on the list primarily to balance and to bring more young people to the fore. So we are doing all these things to make sure that the ethos and values of internal democracy remain consistent. Those members were told, they knew their numbers. Some of them were sitting in the results center. There are communications between us knowing their numbers, and we are saying that yes, ECN pushed us into this corner. And we are saying the priority lies with the party. I'm the president of the party. And if PDM decides today that Venani is not doing a great job to the party, even if I was elected by Congress, even if I was nominated by the party to be number 1, they can remove me. And we are seeing a plethora of examples globally where a person who's a sitting prime minister, where is David Cameron? Where is the last lady who was the prime minister of England? People that were legitimately elected. Parties always, it is in the nature and the DNA of political parties, they need to bring people that would represent them. So on this matter, we are going to win because the power lies with the party to decide on their representative. And those members, unfortunately, those 4 members knew why their names were taken to the fore. It's not that they did not know. It's not, they were not taken by surprise. We took everybody into confidence saying that ECN is forcing us. And the last day that we had to amend that list, we wrote a letter, and that's why the legal opinion that ECN got supported our view, because we wrote and we said that we are going to amend this letter under duress, because the way that you're implementing the law is unconstitutional, and we took processes to courts. So why did we go to court if we didn't have, if we're not bona fide? It's not that we don't want the people on the list. We knew the problems that it would create, and we were consistent in that process, and we are going to be vindicated.
Also paying us a visit this week in the studio was the Governor of Commerce Region and former Deputy Secretary General of SWAPO, Laura McLeod Kashirwa. And this is what she had to say about the ruling party and particularly the issue of independent candidates. Are we likely to see the party converging to fix its constitution ahead of this election? Or why is it that there seems to be no movement in that regard, such that we are going to see probably more independent candidates coming up?
You know, that's now the part of the democracy that we brought around along the weather to this country. We enjoy that democracy, and that is one good thing that Namibia is doing, is to practice democracy. Mm-hmm. As I said, we are trying to look at where we went wrong, what exactly happened last time, and within the rank and file of the party, we are going to address the issue. That may not prohibit either the independent coming during the election of the local and regional council that are coming in November, but definitely we ought to have some intentions of seeing how best we close those gaps and loopholes. But then again, remember, people are practicing their democratic rights.
Yes, indeed.
And that we cannot stop.
Also making very interesting remarks this week, featured on this show, of course, was the Finance Minister, Kailash Leitwine, commenting on the fish rot debacle that was in court this week, and where fresh arrests were made this week also. This is what the minister had to say.
The system, the fish rot saga, of course, which is happening on a larger scale, our court case with regards to under-declaration are those incidents that show the worst of us. And they are extremely harmful to our reputation, but also to our well-being, our physical well-being. They are harmful to treasury, they are harmful to the economy. And therefore they are harmful to each and every one of you. We could have had a better life were it not for them who caused it and for the damage they caused to the country. So it is much more than reputational risk or how we are perceived. It is in fact how we are able to live and what future we do give to our children, our youth. That is, I think, an important matter that we have to introspect on.
Also visiting us this week in the studio was young entrepreneur Michael Mshelelo. He spoke about his arrest by the police and other authorities in October last year. But this is some of what he had to say. If ethics are so important in business, what led to that arrest last year? Because the opposite was actually being said, that you were not being ethical in business, that you did some underground things that were not legal. What was that about?
Well, I mean, it's now for the court to decide what is it that I was doing unethical.
Yeah.
What is it that they've unearthed all of a sudden in terms of the charges that they've brought forth. I mean, they've brought charges forth of money laundering, fraud, and some of them contravening the Banking Act or whatever the case is, POCA and all of these things. So they now need to say, okay, fine, we see that you've been dealing in drugs. And with this drug money, you have now been trying to clean it in this specific manner. In terms of fraud, we see that you have defrauded Toivo of his 100,000. You never paid him back. You promised that you'll get it back to him. So I'd like that to also come to light so I can actually also understand what are these actual charges that have been alleged against me. Yes.
And so I know the case will come, but in the meantime, what would you say was the sort of the, are you at liberty to tell us what was the model for especially your Forex business? What was the model there?
No, the model is quite simple. It's a simple model. So I'm a Forex trader. I trade on the foreign exchange market. And a lot of people also had gotten an interest to do this Forex trading, but obviously due to a lack of experience, a lack of knowledge, they were unable to succeed in it. And then we came up with a business model to say, okay, fine, you, Toivo, would also like to trade on the foreign exchange market, but you have no idea and you have no clue how it works. So what happens is we set up a set of rules, a few contracts and so forth, and say, okay, fine, well, here's my contract. I'm now willing to say, if you have a minimum of 5,000, you give me the 5,000. After a period of 2 months, I give it back to you with 50%, and that's it. That was the business model that we ran.
And it worked because?
It worked because, as far as I'm concerned, there's no single Namibian that invested with us that can come back and say, Michael Mshelelo didn't pay me on time, or he defrauded me, or anything of the sort.
But on a very lighter note, on a very rainy note, this has been a very blessed week in terms of rain, and we are leaving you with a video by Gondwana, our friends at Gondwana, about some of the showers received this week in the country. That was the highlights of our show this week. I hope you enjoyed like we did, and we are coming back with more items next week. Enjoy your weekend.